Коллеги, всем еще раз привет. Всем
Hi, everyone, colleagues. It's good to see you here on day 2 of PhD Days, the biggest event of the year. Today, I would like, today I would like to
проблемами, с которыми мы столкнулись тогда, когда люди начали
speak about the problems
построения DevSecOps процесса.
of which we learned when people came to us asking us to do DevOps security for them and explaining that they've got GitOps.
Да, то есть у нас есть прямо
You have the plan that built as the regular
непонятный flow, по которому мы работаем.
flow,
У нас есть
the regular workflow. We have quality gates in the regular DevOps.
Что здесь непонятного, да?
So what can be the trouble there? If GitOps is your approach,
Некоторое смещение нашего
then
реестра артефактов в сторону CI
our register of artifacts can be
и релиз идеи.
can skid towards our release and delivery system,
Отказа
which is the main failure point of supply chain security. We don't know about deployments there, we don't know about payloads there, we don't know how to work with it, but there is always a solution, right?
И
What are the main advantages of GitOps compared to the traditional workflows?
доклад моего многоуважаемого
I would refer you to a presentation of my colleague, Petr Stolярov from the Flunt team.
гораздо лучше, чем я.
He can discuss that much better than me.
Что нам нужно сделать с кластерами такого, да?
The main problem is what do we do with our clusters and systems so that we are covered and compliant with the common compliance, to the common compliance. Probably we need to have one
Нормально работали.
point of truth
Подвергается большему риску. Сейчас
for everyone.
И
Now, where are the highest risks? Which concepts do we follow and where to begin?
поднимите руку, кто-нибудь когда
The policies repository, have you used Trivia or something like that? Oh, good.
у Trivi,
Great. If you remember, Trivia has
в котором можем
a
определить
config yum,
политики,
where you can define policies
будем сканировать какие-то наши артефакты.
to scan artifacts.
Всякие политики для Gatekeeper,
There are also policies for Gatekeeper.
и мы должны
They must also be stored in Git,
на
and they must be deployed
все наши кластера и на все наши системы.
across our clusters and systems.
Как не постыдно это признавать, но нужно разделять и CI, и CD прямо очень жестко.
CI and CD should be separated.
Вся правда в нашем
We
релизе.
must understand that in GitOps pre-release and continuous integration, we do many different things. There are many hundreds, thousands of assemblies, but there are only hundreds of deployments. Supply chain security is probably a huge practice to feed into a 15-minute presentation, but I will still discuss it at a very high level. Where are the greatest risks? Well, first of all, it's Git.
Самая главная точка, с которой можно
This is the
начать.
point,
Начал бы, наверное,
the starting point,
у которого получилось.
not just for us, but also for the criminals.
CI/CD, да, весь наш процесс.
CI/CD,
Машины
all our process, all build machines, all the
крючком для того, чтобы сделать какой-нибудь
machines that have a hook for a Helm apply
это,
registry.
как я и говорил, такая самая
As I was saying, this is the thing that is the least known to us. In the industry, for standard
все, что
projects, you find different OKE projects where you can put these artifacts, but it's still not clear how to subscribe it and everything else. GitOps operator, this is easier because you can't do many changes there. You can only do the Airpack settings and the policies as well that
будут определять, наверное, то,
will determine
каким источникам мы будем доверять, да, то есть, например,
which sources we will trust. The artifacts from our register, deployments from a particular repository that have a certain signature, and the cluster.
И там по Docker Security их, наверное, сейчас стало очень много, и тут, в принципе, все понятно.
I don't think that I need to go into details there. The concept
Единый источник правды,
Git
как можно больше всего
is the single source of truth
всякие политики,
And we must put all the policies, all the compliance settings into Git.
Потому что
Relatively secure sources. Why relatively? Because we can't trust everything that we get from some repository, from Bitnami, for instance. They are
нужно принять, наверное, то, что продукт нашего CI это должен быть артефакт, у которого уже проведены были все проверки, прошел все quality gates.
Then the CI product, it's been through different gates, and we have a public key so that we can
Он легитимный.
work with it to make sure that
Потому что если мы используем
minimal privileges.
из нашего реестра для запуска каких-нибудь джоб в GitLab, это все равно не означает, что их не подменили. И мы не можем...
If we have different jobs in GitLab, it doesn't mean that they were not swapped, they were not replaced. We can't trust it completely. And the CD product, that's the workload
Вся начальная и она, соответственно,
has been through different tests and checks, and it meets the requirements of our compliance in terms of runtime and execution. And the workload, if it's a host or a cluster,
по нашим CIS, например.
it got most, all the boxes were ticked for it. What can you do? Where do you start if you want to improve your Git security?
Моих коллег есть много людей, которые на тесты
There are many people that you commit out of 2 letters that we, found on the keyboard, and that's it.
эти коммиты.
But we must sign these commits.
Вот есть gitsign, да, есть.
There is getsign, there is the SGPG practice, and it's something that you must use in the continuous integration system.
Должна исполняться только тогда, когда у коммита
Our job must be executed only when the commit is signed, when it has a signature.
не допустишь вредоносных коммитов.
To avoid malicious commits, obviously.
Сканирование, да, но здесь тоже все понятно, если открывать
Scanning tools.
Картинки, которые есть в интернете с этой восьмеркой.
If you open pictures, online pictures with the 8s,
на этапе CI, да, это
at the CI stage, you see SAST, CA, bomb checking,
с bomb generation,
bomb generation, SAST, AST, PAST, and pentest and profiling. Profiling is a simple thing that
какого-либо приложения, и потом
records the benchmark behavior of an application, then we can test for its execution, during run.
например, да, там есть всякие штуки, связанные
If you worked with Harbor, there's a number of tools
например, мы можем запретить deployment
deciding registry management. We can prohibit putting some things in register that don't have a signature. So this will
артефактом хоть
help us implement supply chain protection, and we can trust those elements more. If we have some scanner that is connected to the Harbor,
после того, как у нас
Trivia or some other solutions, after the scan has been run, we need to give it some signature so that in our systems,
это еще могут
this can be used. Because we don't only use the applications, we also use control points and other stuff. So GitOps,
это
I mentioned it about already.
доверенные источники, которым
It's
в какой-то степени да,
RBAC and trusted sources,
security, да, это все.
cluster security.
Мы говорим про
There's everything about admission control,
верно.
gatekeepers,
Мы должны
keyworm, and others. So
у того, что
first of all, we need to check the signature of the things we run. We need to check that the image signature is correct. We also need to check that the deployment is done according to the policies, because if we create some pipelines for the GitOps operator, then at this stage, we need to make sure that we don't take some deployment calls with high privileges
это вот
from the back.
делает, например,
Compliance and continuous security scan is
кто знает, что такое.
something that is done by Trivia operator. If
Приезжает какой-либо
keep it short, if we have some image going into the cluster and we don't have the resource
сканирование, и Триви его инициирует.
that is connected to the scanning results, then Trivia initiates observability,
Делает команда Дмитрия Евдокимова.
things that Yevdokimov Dmitry and his team are doing.
Компонентами, сетями,
They
и
create those beautiful graphs showing the relationships and interconnections between the modules. Not that many solutions on the market, but there are some. And something that I wanted to share with you the most in my presentation, answering the question, what should we do if we have GitOps and we need to implement DevSecOps? Here are the things you need to add at each and every stage of the pipeline. And of course, the flow is...
Видно лазер?
Yeah, I kinda... Do you see the laser pointer?
Например, build, да, вот с commit
Okay, if
до
we take the build stage and starting from commit sign verify up to sign in the artifact. So when you get this presentation, use it or make a photo, and this is pretty much everything I wanted to tell you about the DevSecOps for the GitOps. Thank you.
Вопросы есть?
Any questions? Yeah, sure. We have some.
У нас есть время на 2 вопроса.
We have time for 2 questions. Hello, and thank you very much. Regarding observability, what did you mean? Did you mean the threat modeling?
Да, вот в контексте.
No, within observability context, and the picture I showed.
Наверное, это то, что происходит именно в самом классе.
There's something that happens within the cluster. So,
Да, то есть мы его запускаем в кластер
threat modeling
с агентами, она раскатывается на каждую.
is a threat mapper. It's scaled on all the nodes
Система, чему мы
and then looks at the system settings to create
должны видеть,
an attack
что у
model.
нас вообще существует в
But
кластере.
we need to see what we have within the cluster and what is there, how it's run.
Security логи,
So we need to security logs or
ну и вот все, что
Some.
observability в практику.
interaction and observability.
Следующий вопрос можно задать.
One more question I wanted to ask you.
Threat mapping.
You mentioned the threat mapping,
Вы пользовались?
but there's also threat agile.
Вы
Did
пользовались?
you use it?
Почему вы?
Threat agile approach
У вас больше?
or threat mapping is
Нет,
better for you?
сказать, что там вот про вот то, что
No, I
про решение первый раз, наверное, слышу, а ThreatMapper — это, наверное, вот та штука.
I never heard about threat agile, and threat mapper is something we wanted to
Прикурить для того, чтобы показывать
use within all of our pipelines so that we could show to the management what we are susceptible to. And it does not have that amount of information as, for example, Laundry has.
Спасибо большое за доклад.
Thank you. Thank you indeed for the presentation. And you mentioned the secrets leakage.
В других систем, как сделать
Is there something in GitLab and other systems, like in GitHub, when we add the secret there, we cannot read it from there. It's there.
как именно управление секретом
If you mean
на этапе CI, то есть
secret management as in CI,
то злоумышленник не может достать с моего аккаунта.
yeah, if there's a leak, then
Там лежат, но
the
ну, вообще,
attacker
как бы,
cannot
в индустрии
take it from there.
есть
Well, globally, in the industry, there's two approaches. You can keep secrets as in GitLab,
в GitHub Actions, да, то, что вот нельзя получать.
and
А второй, ну,
same as GitHub Actions, because some things that you cannot change. And the second approach is using key management system like Bolt and others. So if you look at the tools like Cosine, Scapeo, or others, we have
скорее всего, они тоже должны будут запускать
plan for all our pipelines to be able to launch as in Tiktok, course in Kubernetes.
Есть такая специфика, что мы в идеале
And there's some specifics to it. Ideally, we should not have access
историю кода, да, и не
to our code repository,
с этой системой.
and we should not have any connection to the system apart from being able to
При использовании
get the sources.
переменную
So when you use the cosine,
и
you can
только
get
из,
the variable
такой плохой уже
from the file
метод. И
and
это из case storage, да?
through env, half deprecated already,
Там,
and through SK storage. Vault or AWS key storage system.
Спасибо.
I don't know. Did I answer your question? Okay. Thank you.
Спасибо.